Boys, we are so back. I cannot believe that this build exists again. We are doing an Eye of Innocence cast when damage taken loop build in the year of our Lord 2026. Before I get into all the nitty gritties, let's just jump into this incredibly milquetoast map I have prepared. You can see it in action, and then I'll describe how everything works. I'm like giddy. I can't believe it. This is essentially the very, very first cast when damage taken build that I made over 6 years ago, just back in action again. Like we never fucking left. Now, it is important to note, this is not an infinite looper. This build will only loop if you have something to hit. If there's nothing to hit, the loop stops. And they said ground loot was dead. Running Abyss strictly for the experience, so I could level this character up as fast as I could. This character didn't exist 48 hours ago. I'll come loot later. Let's get the bosses. Oh no, I hit a button. Sue me. There you go. I'm going to forget to go back and loot that, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so what are we doing? Obviously, we need to damage ourselves. We have self-damage that we take that drives the cast when damage taken loops. We do that with Eye of Innocence. Every time we ignite an enemy, we take 120 fire damage. That is reduced by resistances. So with 75% resistance, you're going to take 30 fire damage every time you ignite an enemy. I have, depending on the skill, somewhere around 85 or 95% chance to ignite on hit, and everything I do does fire damage. So we've got that covered. Now, if we just left it at that, we'd kill ourselves. So our old friend Ngamuhu's sign gives us, when it's perfectly qualitied like the amulet, 36 life back when we ignite an enemy. So we're losing 30, but we're gaining 36. On top of that, I'm also running Vitality with a Watcher's Eye Vitality that gives us another 29 life back per hit on Vitality. So we have a ton of recovery. Taking the self-damage and life recovery, absolutely not a problem. What is a problem is our mana. This is what killed this build back in 3.15, because it used to be triggered spells didn't cost any mana. Now they do, and we're casting them a lot. So there's two different ways we're tackling the mana costs. Number one, I have a Shaper Ring that has 3 mana per enemy hit with spells. So we get a lot back from that, but we also are damaging ourselves a lot. Battle Rouse down here, 10% of damage taken recouped as mana, and the Mastery, another 10% of damage taken recouped as mana. So we have life covered, we have mana covered. Where is our damage coming from? Well, our cast when damage taken, we're leaving them at level 1. so they trigger as often as possible. The catch is that we have to leave the skills linked to them at a low enough level that they will still be triggered by the cast when damage taken gem. So we're not getting damage directly from the spells themselves. We're getting it from one of the most broken ascendancy nodes in the game that will not exist after this league. I doubt they will bring this back anytime soon. The Black Cane on the Reliquary. In this setup, Phantasmal Might gives this character an average of 61 flat physical damage to spells per summoned phantasm. And at max, we have 44 of them. That means we're getting almost an average of 2,700 added flat physical damage to spells. Every single one that we cast. So we get to 44 phantasms by our old friend, Soul Rest. Every time we consume a corpse, we will trigger a phantasm. The level 25 phantasm has a maximum of 11. Socketing in another greater than level 20 phantasm support will double that to 22. We can then use the Dark Monarch to double that again to 44. Technically, you could also use a Congregation support socketed in Soul Rest to bump this as high as 62, but Congregation support is expensive, and I don't want these builds to be expensive because they're memes, and you shouldn't be spending that much on them. So what skills are we actually using here? So the first one up, here in the gloves, I've got cast when damage taken support. This is linked with Desecrate and Volatile Dead with Spell Cascade. So that means Desecrate is going to spawn the full 10 corpses, thanks to Spell Cascade, and Volatile Dead will consume up to 9 of those corpses. Now, practically speaking, they don't always overlap perfectly, but you tend to get, around an average of 7 per cycle of this cast when damage taken. So this helps generate the phantasms that we need for our damage. The Volatile Dead has absolutely no damage mods on it. In fact, it has a less damage penalty from Spell Cascade and a less damage penalty from cast when damage taken support. But we're throwing so much flat damage onto this still ends up being a not insignificant chunk of our damage. In the Soul Rest, again, we have the Summon Phantasm support that is only there to get our base Summon Phantasms up to 22. Again, cast when damage taken here as well. But here, we are creating Lingering Blades. So we have EK of Lingering Blades with GMP for even more. And then we have Bladefall, again, with Spell Cascade. This generates plenty of blades for our Blade Blast to come in. Now, this is our damage link. This is the 6th link here in our chest. We are, again, cast when damage taken support. I've got Blade Blast, and I've got Firestorm Rocket on here. And these are both with Power Charge on crit, increased strikes, increased crit damage. So this is kind of the bulk of our damage coming from this setup here. In the Helm, we just have a Blade Vortex with more duration. The only reason really for this is to help carry damage from one pack to another. Again, like I said before, if you don't have something to hit, the loop doesn't work. So by having a Blade Vortex that we try to keep up, we have the means of generating more hits after we have cleared one pack and move on to the next pack. I also have a Hatred in here. We are doing a ton of physical damage. So this is just a straight up more multiplier to our damage. We just get it as cold instead. The other way that we are helping to generate the initial ignites to get the engine running is we are kind of using Aberrath's hooves. So this is a vestigial unique that has the mod from Aberrath's boots that causes us to deal a small area damage, I'll say, of spell damage around our character as we walk. This also will ignite, and because it is a spell, it also benefits from Phantasmal Might. So that is where we get our starting ignites from. Also in here, I have a Flame Dash, just because sometimes you got to clear terrain. Then I have Hex Touch and Elemental Weakness, just so Flame Dash and the Aberrass Fury will both apply curses to the enemies. Now, if you're doing this, you can just use Aberrass Hooves. You don't have to get a Vestigial Unique. Literally, the only reason that I got these instead of just using an Aberrass Fury, or I'm sorry, an Aberrass Hooves, is because these boots have more movement speed. That's it. That's the only reason I got these instead. They were cheap, and they have more movement speed. So, with the Eye of Innocence, and Ngamu's Sign, Dark Monarch, Soul Rest, and Aberrass Fury by some means, that's all the pieces you need to put this together. Everything else can be easily self-found, self-crafted. I mean, I'm still rocking an Astro Plate, for Christ's sake. I don't even have a regular armor with, Eldritch Implicits on it. This is just completely thrown together, and it works so damn good. I will have a POB in the description that will have this whole tree as you see it now. The general idea is, again, we're getting our mana recoup. We're going this way because we are kind of resistance starved, so this just helps us get to there. We do pick up a lot of strength, so Iron will get you some damage. We are doing almost all physical converted to elemental in some kind of fashion. We're getting extra Fizz is fire here, Fizz is fire here, Fizz is lightning here. Again, Fizz is cold from the hatred. We do have a decent amount of block. We have 62 attack, 33 spell block, and that spell block can actually go up with Hypnotic Eye Jewels. If you're damaged by hit recently, which is all the time, this just straight up means that you're getting extra chance to block spell damage. So we do get a good chunk of block by taking some of the block nodes on the tree with staves. We have some crit nodes with the tree, some other spell crit, some area of effect, and more block here, and just some ignite nodes on the tree. We're grabbing some power charges. You see I got one over here, so we are rocking a lot of power charges, going for crit, and it's just so beautiful. I'm just so glad we get to do this again. Again, this Phantasmal Might, realistically, this build is built around this one single Ascendancy node. Nothing else really matters. You have to take one node here. We are walking, so Calm's Roots is like the meme choice, because why not? We're a walking build. Take the boots. You could do Dawnbreaker here and do some sort of fire conversion and maybe actually make this thing pretty tanky. I mean, this build is tankier than it ought to be. I've got, a little over 19 hours on the character and only 25 deaths in that time. For a meme build that takes thousands of damage every second, having only died 25 times is pretty good. This build is way tankier than it seems like. Over here, I went to Polaric Devastation. This is really just for a little bit of marginal extra damage from the Ash and Frost. There really aren't a whole lot of really good choices for us from this node, so you could opt for a Bloodline Ascendancy if you wanted to, but really this whole setup is just so versatile. If you have just the base setup of a Soul Rest, the Dark Monarch, and then some means of generating phantasms with our little cast and damage, I mean, you can do whatever spells you want in the actual main damaging setups. The world is your oyster or your treasure clam, whatever it is under the sea. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you. I'm sorry for not making videos ever, but this one I had to share because it's too good. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. See the Path of Building file, and just get out there and have fun with this while you can, because that Phantasmal Might node is not going to exist after this league. Bye.